how I get paid to be me. Whew. This is something I just made a video about, a little carousel, a little post about yesterday, and I was actually considering potentially making a video about one of the things that was in the carousel there, which was how I make viral martial arts content, and then how that leads into me being able to get paid to be me, to be myself. But that can be a video for a little bit of a later time, is what we will be doing there. So for now, we'll just let the cat out the bag straight away. I'm not going to string you guys along or anything like that. You guys can tune in for all the details. Essentially what I do is I have built a personal brand around my passions, my interests, my strengths, and I do it all my way, in a way that feels great for me, and I build systems into that. So I build my mind alongside that. I build my mind alongside the system. So I develop into the man that's required to be okay with getting paid to be himself, and also knows how to put out stuff that's so valuable that people want to pay for me to help them apply that stuff. That's essentially what I do in a nutshell. Now, to also add to that, I'm just going to take these pants off because it's a bit warm. To add to that, one of the major things that I have is a little resource that I made, a little course, a little free course that I put together. It's free. It was initially called How to Make Money by Being You, but that's what it is essentially, so that you guys can apply that side of things. If you are keen for that, comment below for How to Make Money by Being You. Just comment that, and I will send that through to you. No strings attached. Just have it, watch it, love it, learn it. It's a lot of the stuff that we're going through here. Well, it's more depth, because that's like a couple of hours worth of content that I've put in there, obviously condensed into more of a presentation style, where I've made sure that we hit over all the points. And this is more like chill, rolling, chatting about stuff here. So we basically are putting ourselves in a position where we have a lot of leverage. We can post content, but something that I find a lot of guys miss is this idea of actually being able to post content that sells for you. Because I know a lot of guys that are much, much better video creators, editors, and that than me, that do not get paid like I do to do what they do. And it's because there's a lack of being able to sell within that content. So being able to have the systems in place, the mindset side of things in place, and be able to essentially post content in a way that's focused, and what it does is it helps solve a high value problem for people, is a big thing that I do. Because at the end of the day, we have to understand my personal method is doing that through martial arts. Through martial arts, through business stuff, through things that I know, have researched, or can put people in contact to regarding what my area of expertise is there. So when I do all of this stuff, I am, in essence, I'm a coach. That's one of my primary things. You could call me a martial arts coach, a success coach. Those are my two main things. Business coach as well. I love coaching. I love doing that. So that's one of my areas of passion. I have a high value skill in that I know how to build these things myself, and I know how to help other people build these things for themselves, specifically around what they're passionate about. So a lot of my content focuses specifically on that and provides insights into how I do that. And what I do is I really focus on improving my communication more and more and more, so I can convey similar points better and better every single time, so that people can go and apply the stuff that I put in the content, put that out there, start making something for themselves that they find valuable, that they are passionate about, and then essentially what people pay for, and this is the thing a lot of people miss, is actually the ability to work with me to help implement that side of things, because the value is in the implementation, not as such just the information. It's actually being able to have proximity to you to be able to work with you. And a key thing that I emphasize and hold in with a high amount of respect is the fact that I'm essentially someone where when people come into my world and they're around me, they improve naturally. My wife and I are blessed with that gift of being able to do that, whereby people come around us, all the information's out there anyway. We're obviously very good at and always improving at being able to convey that information and communicate it in a way that is going to help everyone there. But we, as a result of that, know that we hold a lot of value in terms of helping people towards achieving an outcome, but also it's just the proximity to us naturally brings people up as well. So it's our responsibility essentially to get out in front of people and do that side of things, and people want that. So it's understanding that and holding your own value, and that's why the mind side of things is so important, because we're constantly raising that value alongside. It's like a skill. Like we have this skill of being able to consult, build businesses, help people apply that stuff in a more objective way than they could just do themselves, but also cater to what they're feeling, how they want to run that business, a personalized approach based on their personality, their likes, their values, and then we're just able to integrate all of that, and we can convey that within our content, and people get it. So there's a certain structure that we have where we treat our content like a funnel. It's like you catch a lot of people at the top and then they work through the funnel, and these are the types of content that we make. There's top of funnel content, bottom of funnel, middle of funnel content, bottom of funnel, and it's essentially like the people that want to and that are right for it will work their way through the funnel to eventually start working with you. That's the essence of what we do. What is on my glasses? It is a microphone, because I do that there. Why do you spell Kaey-Lib like that? Because that's how my name is spelled, bro. My parents gave me the name that way. You aren't even reading the comments. I am now. I was just doing it as you. What are the chances, bro? Anyway, that is a big part of how we do what we do. And like I was talking about in the carousel yesterday, we are able to, which as of right now is pinned to my profile, so you can go check that out pretty easily on Instagram. But what we do is we also, and this is a really important aspect of it, we untie our money from time, because a lot of people are very bought into this idea of like trading their money for time. We've all heard it a bajillion times before, that side of things. But what does it actually mean to get out of doing that? It starts with, one, being okay with having income not being tied to your time. That's a really important aspect, because some people, if you think about it, and what I see is like people actually aren't okay with it, because very deeply embedded into a lot of us is this notion of you have to trade your time for hours, and that's a lot of programming. Like the world's designed to be that way, because it does help people conform to that more so, whether that's by design or incidental. I don't believe it's incidental. There are no coincidences. But that does happen there for most people. So being able to break out of that constraint that we put on ourselves, it's like your mind is the greatest prison. But the double edge of that sword, the other side of that sword, is that it can also be our greatest asset as well. Our greatest asset that we can leverage and yield in this life is our mind, but it can also be our greatest prison. For example, it's like an elephant that grows up with a chain around it, like a rope around its neck, tied to a pole. It pulls against it, it can't get out, and eventually the elephant's huge, like nothing could really stop it, but it thinks that this little chain or this little rope around its neck will stop it from going outside of a certain area, because it's just the conditioning that it's had, but it's just in the elephant's mind, you know? So we do that, we sip some decaf coffee, but we detach our money from time, and the means by way of actually doing that is something call it, and I know other people call it this as well, value-based pricing, and understanding that people pay for outcomes. They don't necessarily pay for time, they pay for outcomes. At least like people that are on top of it and really know about these things. It's not about how long something takes, it's about the quality of the outcome, of the results that they're getting. And that's ultimately what people care about. And in terms of sales and that kind of thing, or being able to sell people on what you do, it's a really core principle to understand is that that's essentially what it is. That's a huge aspect of being able to charge what you're worth, or charge your value. So your worth, your value, not your self-worth, just like what your service, your product, whatever it is worth, is a really important aspect, because when you don't understand how to do that, you'll start tying it directly to time, and it is capped. Like there are only so many hours you can work in a day, and your rate per hour can vary, but it's ultimately about charging accordingly to an outcome, because you couldn't really have a rate more like, you couldn't have like $1 billion a year rate kind of thing. It wouldn't proportionally make sense to bill according to that, but it's being able to get paid according to your worth. And obviously you could have just one client pay you that, but it is really understanding that that's where you're worth, that's what people are really paying for at the end of it. So, because for example, you could have like two people that are going to build the exact same fence, like a front yard, for example, because we had our neighbor was doing some works on their front yard. You could have two people that do the exact same job, same quality and everything, but one can do it in a day and the other can do it in a month. Who would you pay more for? The dude that can do it in a day, right? You want construction and all that in your front yard for a month? Probably not. So it's just one of those things where you understand that people actually aren't, they might think and they talk about it being attached to the outcome, attached to the time, but it's actually the value is the quality of the outcome, and also the rate, the speed of the outcome. So even for the work that I do, it's like if I can get someone the results in 6 months versus like 10 years, obviously they prefer to get it in 6 months, because then you can build so much more within that 10 years as well. And there's also that element of understanding, like looking at things on a long enough time horizon, but that's for another time. So that would be another really key thing there, is understanding how to remove untie your time from money, because often we tie those things together. And one of the best ways to do that is by running your own business. It is not necessarily the only way, but in my experience, that's how I do it. That's how I remove that there. And if you don't do that, so even if you have a job or something like that, that's where stuff like developing assets and knowing how to leverage those assets. So for stuff like passive income, being able to invest into yourself and into those assets to build them and utilize them in the best way possible. That's another really key thing, because then you still possess those. Like we've got real estate, we've got businesses we invest in, we have got various different things like stocks and crypto and that kind of thing that we invest in, where we're being ourselves and we're getting paid as we sleep. In accordance with that, we also build systems that allow us to continuously get paid as we sleep, because they're constantly developing. And tying back into the content is one of those systems as well. Like I have a system for my content where it shows my personality, allows me to be myself, express myself authentically at all times. And that's when things always do their best as well. But it's also, if you think about it, because we specialize, well, right now my main thing is organic content. So they're basically like, if you think about ads, like normally you pay to have ads and run that kind of thing. If you have good content, they're basically ads running for you year round, that people at Facebook, at Google, at YouTube, at TikTok, all of these things, they're working all the time. Like people have built these multi-billion-dollar organizations to literally put your content out there, make it do well, and help you, because it helps them ultimately in the long run. So it is one of those things where you can, if you can understand that, you're like, okay, all I got to do is make like quality content that covers these fundamentals, and then you'll essentially have a system that you can use, churn up, like increase the rate of whenever you want, but also you can kick back and like have that coming in. Like it's essentially a constantly growing sales system for yourself as well, that can be free, like free in the monetary sense, but obviously we always invest with something. So it's our time and energy, if not including our money. So it's like free is a funny term by way of that, but it's organic in that way. And then you can pair that with paid stuff and it can do really, really well as well. So yeah, and in accordance with that, like I said, the mind is one of the most powerful things there, because a lot of the time it's like we can have the opportunities, but we get so scared of the risk that we actually don't leverage the assets that we have. Like some people would have real estate, but they wouldn't be willing to leverage it the way that we do with various loans and that, because they're, and this is something to look into, maybe we can dive into it another time, but there is a lot of negative language associated with things in the financial realm. It's very non-coincidental when you look at it, but debt, for example, sounds very similar to death. And what do we think of, like what's the connotation for most of us that are not necessarily born rich, but this is like you can adopt the rich mindset. When you think of debt, even that word is like, it stirs up an emotion with you. No. I know that I was kind of brought up with this thing of no, never have debt, never owe anyone anything, never owe someone anything in that way, or never borrow money, don't over leverage yourself, and there are all these things there. And I'm not like, that can be all well and good, it might be great for the next person, but if you're deathly afraid of it, then you aren't going to be able to think as clearly as possible when that stuff comes up. Because, well, I mean, we are all born in debt, essentially, because of our human nature, and the only remittance of those sins is baptism in the name of Jesus Christ, and living a life in accordance to His word and our relationship with Him. Anyway, but that is the biggest debt that we're automatically born into as well, being of this world. So it's like we can have this fear of that in a financial sense as well, and it hinders our ability to make great decisions, like the right decisions, even if we know the right thing to do, which is why one of the things when I invest in my mind, and I talk about this stuff, is I invest in coaching, building a team, getting around the right people, whatever it takes to invest into that, because even if you know what to do, I've seen this time and time again, and I go through it as well, even myself, I know what to do. I coach this stuff. I do this. Sometimes when it happens for me, though, I just panic as well. It's like I freeze. I don't know what to do. It's like you know, but you don't know, or you can't bring yourself to do it for some reason. But that's why we have teams to be able to handle that stuff that you're not as strong at, or people that can give you a more objective perspective and tell you, hey, okay, this would be the way forward. And you're like, oh, of course, like I did know that, but there's so much value in being able to do that and cut out all of that grappling with yourself back and forth. And then also being okay with your development alongside that is really good. The way I see it is that you still have to go through it, make the decisions, make the calls, build the things, do all of that, surrender it all to God. You still have to do all of that, but it's basically sometimes you might need help. You might need someone to hold your hand whilst you walk the path. You're still walking the path, but you might need someone holding your hand. Or when you're learning to ride a bike, you could be riding a bike, but it helps and it fast tracks your learning. You still develop the skill. It fast tracks your learning when someone like holds you steady whilst riding the bike, so you keeps you balanced, and that, so that you don't stack it every time, and you can build up your confidence because you get the reps of doing it the right way in more and more and more. You get to have that volume of doing that. So that's a big thing by way of, that's probably one of your number one investments, because then that allows you to do that stuff by way of leveraging your assets, or being okay with your money being removed from time, untied from time. building the content, the systems, managing your finances, and doing all of that side of things. And yeah, and because you'll have also specialists that love doing stuff like that, that are great at it, and then you can be like, okay, cool, let's do that. Hey, it's me, Liam, but remember my username, it's new, okay, brother? All right, what's up, bro? Good to see you. Yeah. So when it comes to that's a huge thing, and I kind of touched on the last point anyway, but it's building a business around your strength, building life around your strengths. We're not made to be able to do everything, and no man does it alone. We aren't even physically born into this world by our own volition. Like, we couldn't do it without our parents, like two people coming together, and then let alone like we wouldn't exist at all if it wasn't for God. So understanding that is one of your greatest leverages, your greatest assets are actually people, and even our investments. At the end of the day, we're investing in people. Even the stock market, the real estate market, all of that is people. So understanding that, and that's another free, like a little tidbit in there as well, as understanding humans, putting humans first, and being able to understand the minds of people will give you great insight to know yourself, know thyself, but also great insight into how to fully help others, because you might not be able to say the same thing in the same way to two different people. You likely won't. You'll have to cater that to them to be able to communicate those things. And it's all people at the end of it. Even like I coach and I teach, it's people. I have to be able to convey the information, otherwise there's no use. There's no use in stale juice. I don't know what that was, but there's no use in that. Flew backwards. Facts indeed, brother. It's like we are paid to convey that information. Good man, hahaha. Let's go flex backwards. Getting some comments here. I love it. So having the ability to do that for yourself is really big. And a really, really important aspect with regards to what we do. Because without it, we'll just be lost in the nebulous. And yeah, having other people around you actually makes you stronger. Because God's given us all unique personalities in which, like, I'm good at certain things, my wife's good at certain things. So it's like man and woman, for example, we don't have all of the same characteristics or all of the same strengths. But when you put us together, it's like she can lean on me for my strengths because they're in general her weaknesses, like my wife, or like not her strong points, not her zones of genius. So she can focus on her zones of genius and I can focus on my zone of genius, and together we can build more than each of us could have possibly accomplished in one life individually, I'd argue, is the case. So we're made as social beings to actually live this life together and to do these things together, and it's a beautiful thing. And it's also just being able to understand that, because, well, I say it's all a thinking man's game, this is all the art of being man, because it all works the same way. Like business works the same way as relationships in real life. Martial arts works the same way as well. Weight training, all of that, it all works the same way. And one of the biggest things that I find there is being able to lean into your strengths. And that is one of the key things that I think a lot of people overlook when it comes to building a business that you're really passionate about. Because there is this notion of like, recently I've heard this come in this notion of like, don't pursue what you're passionate about because it won't make money. I'm like, well, only if you're not intentional about it. If you are intentional about it, then being able to hone what you're passionate about will take you far further than most other things that you could do in this life as well, because that will just be naturally what drives you. And if you can build a team around you of people who essentially their strengths cover your things that aren't your zone of genius, then you're all going together much further and you're going to achieve much more. It's like that phrase, if you want to run fast, run alone. If you want to run far, run together. And I'd argue you could actually run faster together as well. How do we take equity to purchase first home? How do you take equity? It depends, man. Like, not financial advice. It just depends on if you can draw that from something else, from another mortgage, if you have the cash to be able to do that, if you have loans to be able to do that side of things. There are a lot of government grants nowadays as well, especially depends on where you are in Australia as well. So there are different things that you could do it in accordance to your business. It depends on your circumstance and your context, so I wouldn't go too deep into it here just because it really depends. The biggest thing would be making the commitment to do that and pursue that route to its fullest degree and find out about that stuff. That's what would line you up to being able to do it. So it's like, you have no mortgage and it's freehold. Look, when it comes to this side of things as well, like we were just talking about, I have a team for this stuff. Like, this is what my wife and I do together as well. So we are straying into things where if I were to continue talking now, I'd be talking out my butt, to be completely honest with you. I'd love to help, but I know it wouldn't be helpful for me to just be like, yeah, do this, that, and the other, and to like give you that financial advice as well. It depends on your context. Like, feel free to jump into the DMs and we can chat back and forth a little bit more on this as well. But like I said, this is something that I'm still learning, bro. I'm still learning. I have an idea of what we do, but I also have a team for this, because then I'm not constantly sitting there worrying about this. It's not really one of my strengths. I enjoy learning about it, but it's not my area of focus most of the time. So I defer to those whose area of focus it is, and that's a strength. Like, honestly, being like fully open about that. So I don't claim to know everything about all of these areas that I am in, and I have investments in as well. That's where a team comes in, and it's good to do that as well. A good little example is, well, me by extension of my wife, know the owner of Zambreros. I don't know if you know them. They're like a big Mexican food place here in Australia, a restaurant chain. I think they're a fast food chain maybe. But the owner of Zambreros, or the founder of Zambreros, has never folded a burrito in his life. So it's about building a team of experts around you, or people that can specialize in doing those certain things there. I hope that can highlight to you the power of doing that. And your role a lot of the time is building and finding those people, raising your standard, and so that they can raise up as well. So I see it as like a rising tide raises all ships. My responsibility is being that tide that raises all the ships and allows people like my wife, my other team members, to be able to rise up with me and cater to their specialties and the things that they're passionate about and they love and they enjoy. And I don't have to do the same things. I think it's very powerful to be able to lean on others for what they're good at. So yeah, it's pretty cool, pretty fun. That my personal brand, like my content and that, is an asset that I utilize because people know me from it. And it conveys a sense of authority, which also leads to stuff like premium coaching and that kind of thing, because I've been able to convey that to them in a way that they trust. It's not just about lots of likes or followers or anything like that. I mean, I've been doing this since I had like less than 200 followers as well. So it's definitely not that. Yeah, because I know some people with like millions of followers or hundreds of thousands of followers that can't do really the same thing because they don't know these things. They're not applying these things. They're not applying the personal brand in this way. They're not applying the systems, and they don't have the mind for that side of things, and they're not untying their time from money. A lot of that stuff. I've heard that a lot of influencers now are actually going back to doing jobs, which is nothing wrong with that. I actually have a lot of respect for people that go and work jobs and do that as well. there's a lot of honor in doing that to provide for yourself and provide for your family and your loved ones, your cared ones. I understand. A big thing that I really enjoy doing with this is I treat, it's a privilege to be able to work a job and to work hard at something that you care about as well. So to be able to do your own, essentially what I'm doing now is I've created a job for myself because it's a privilege to work hard, or to not work hard, but to have a job working on something that you care about. And that's what I care about, because I care about my business and it doing as well as possible and how that fits into my life. It's I want to do that. And that's something that retiring for a year and a half really showed me, was the fact that, oh yeah, I really care about this thing, and it doesn't feel as good and it doesn't do as well as a result when I'm half out because I'm retired. And that's so I'd rather be all in, committed to this thing that I love doing, and really have as much impact as possible with all of that. So yeah, that's a big thing there. And I understand that in doing that and developing these fundamentals of business, these systems, putting them in place, you create the stability and security that a job would have, but you create that from your business. And it's it is important to know that the stability and security of a job is often, it's a perception. It's in your mind, because you could lose that job. The company could go under and there's no obligation to get another one. The stability and security is an internal thing, but often for a lot of people, this isn't necessarily everyone, but they'll place that stability and security on the external thing, which is the job. So if that disappears, then what? And I've heard this Jim Carrey quote. I'm like Chris Williamson doing all these quotes, bro. But I think it's a very succinct, it's a good quote. Jim Carrey told this story about how his dad wanted to go the comedy route, didn't end up doing it because he wanted to play it safe, provide for his family. So he became an accountant, worked hard, had this job full-time, 40 years or something maybe, and then he lost that job. And they had to make ends meet, and they did all that. But one of the primary things that he said from that was, you can fail at doing something you hate as well. So why not go for something you love as well? And that is a massive premise for what we do. And the way I see it is this is another thing, that there is no failure. There is only success, because if all of those things that we consider failure or setbacks are required for us to achieve the things that we want to achieve, then God doesn't make mistakes. So then you can consider them all successes on a long enough time horizon, in accordance with God's plan. And I think that's a pretty cool way of seeing things, because you experience the world that you focus on. Yeah, you don't experience the world as it is, you experience the world that you focus on. That's a Tony Robbins quote. Again, this guy with the quotes, bro. Yeah, so that's a big thing there, pursuing your passion, but being intentional about it. If you really care about this thing, be intentional about it. Go all in, invest accordingly, and build something you really care about, bro. What's this flew backwards? Oh, I appreciate that. I think, yeah. So yeah, just fully committing, going for it, being all in is really important. And all in can look different. All in's a relative term. So all in for you might be dedicating all of your hours and all the things that you can invest outside of your 9 to 5 or outside of your job to be able to make this thing happen. That's a really important thing there. It doesn't mean quit your job, empty out your savings, do all of that, have no plan B kind of thing. Well, I'd say all in is having no plan B. But it's that dedication and that intentional focus. Although, for clarity's sake, yes, that is if you look at our journey, Yana and I feel like most people do this. Even Alex Hormozy, that you look at that, they say, okay, no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to quit the job and everything. It's but that is what we did. That's what he did as well. It's you just send it and go all in. There's something to that. It is a commitment to being this is going to work regardless, because I say so, because this is what I've been called for, because this is what God's put on my heart. So it's going to work regardless. It's not a matter of if, but when. And there's really something to that, I believe. But I would never suggest for someone to empty out their savings on something. It's like if your mind's not in the right place, or if you do it just because I said it, you're just going to create panic, unnecessary stress, all of that for yourself, and probably won't enjoy the journey as much. But, I mean, if you do it, you could always say that, and it makes for a pretty cool story as well. So, it is what it is until it isn't what it isn't. Yeah, that's, in a nutshell, how I get paid to be me. That's pretty much all for this video. If you have any questions, feel free to send them through, or comment them below in like the video after this. And like I said, if you want that, it's a free course. Like I'm happy to give it to you guys here. It's 4 videos, and I think it's under maybe about an hour and a half. All the stuff it's on YouTube. You can like double speed them. If you want that, just shoot me a message or comment below how to make money by being you, and I will send that through to you. So yeah, would absolutely love to be able to help out there. It's just something I've made. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, any questions, let me know. Can always have a good chat in the DMs as well. Love you guys. Appreciate the love, and yeah, this is all the art of being man. Embody that and it'll be all gravy, baby. Catch you guys on the flippity flip. Oh, we're gonna go Timmy and Zeke with the outro. All right. Take care, guys.